So I'm joined on the line by former Birmingham, Sheffield United and Watford midfielder, Paul Devlin. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah. So if we start at the beginning of your career, how did you get in the game and who spotted you?
Well, I didn't do sort of an apprenticeship or YTS as such. I was working on building sites and trained as a chef and sort of drifted back into Sunday football when I was 17, 18-ish and played, most levels of non-league football. Eventually worked my way into the Vauxhall Conference with Stafford Rangers. Got spotted by a few clubs, had trials at a couple of clubs, and eventually was signed by Neil Warnock at Notts County in the final year of the old First Division, where I went on to make my debut against Coventry.
Yeah. So when you signed for Notts County, you made 2 Wembley appearances in the Anglo-Italia Cup.
Yeah, that's right. That was, it was fantastic. I mean, it was quite a maligned competition, to be fair. The crowds weren't great, and there tended to be a lot of sendings off because you'd have an Italian referee in England and an English referee in Italy.
Yeah.
And the way they interpreted the games was completely different to each other. But it was fantastic for us because, we got to Wembley 2 years in a row, losing to Brescia the first year and then beating Ascoli the second year. So it's a competition I remember fondly because it got me 2 Wembley appearances.
And you played against a couple of legends, wasn't Hadji playing for Brescia at the time?
Hadji was unbelievable. I look back and I'm fortunate. I've played against a lot of world-renowned stars: Thierry Henry, Zola, Luis Figo, people like that. But I mean, Hadji that day was unbelievable. I mean, he just sat in the middle of the park and you couldn't get near him. I'd definitely put him in the top 2 or 3 players that I played against in my career.
Is there a competition you think would work better these days, or is it?
I don't know. I think that much emphasis now on getting to the Premier League or the Championship clubs. I don't think they particularly concentrate on it. The be all and end all now for the Championship clubs is to try and get into that into that Premier League and get the Premier League money. So I think it probably wouldn't work today now.
Then you signed for Barry Fry's Birmingham City. How did that move come about?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm a Birmingham kid and was a Birmingham fan growing up, and one of my best friends in football was Michael Johnson, who started out together at Notts County, and Jono had got a move to Birmingham about 3-4 months beforehand, and Birmingham were on a bit of a bad run, and they missed unbelievable amount of penalties, and it just so happened that Barry Fry came to the game and he was interested in signing me. And he was watching a reserve game, one of the games going on, and another good friend of mine, Andy Legg, was playing for Notts County reserves. And obviously Barry saw him take a throw in. Leggy had the longest throw in football at the time, and Birmingham had a massive striker called Trevor Francis.
Yeah.
So he came down to sign me, saw Leggy take a throw in, and decided to take us both in a joint deal to Birmingham. It was great. Baz was a real big character, and it was a dream for me to get the chance to play for my hometown club.
So is that the club you supported as a boy?
Yeah, I used to go down to Blues in the early 80s. My uncle took me down, and then my dad and all that side of the family from Glasgow, so there's strong Celtic connections as well. But Birmingham and Celtic were the 2 teams I followed as a boy.
Yes, Trevor Francis took over in your second season. I read you didn't really get on that well.
No, we didn't get on. I mean, it was unfortunate because Trevor's an absolute god at Birmingham City.
Yeah.
And in his first season, I was top goal scorer and player of the year. I did really well. 12 games into his second season, I'd scored 18-12, but I always got the impression he didn't really want me there, Trevor. I wasn't one of his signings.
No.
A lot of the Barry Fry signings, it's sort of offsided straight away, but because obviously I'd done so well in his first season, scoring a lot of goals, he didn't get me out straight away. But I always felt that I was on borrowed time with him, and it's a shame because I would have liked to have stopped at Birmingham for 10 years and score 100 goals plus for him. But these things happen in football, and you have to move on.
I've had a couple of listeners' questions sent in. Joe James asks, what Scottish youngsters do you think have the best chance of making it an impact in football?
Which Scottish youngsters in particular, or in general?
Yeah, particular.
I mean, obviously I don't see a lot of the Scottish game, but the one that has impressed me the most is the young kid who's fullback at Hull at the moment. I forget his name there.
Andy Robinson, is it? No.
Yeah, I think so. The fullback, I can't remember his name offhand, to be honest. I know he got released by Celtic as a young boy, and he sort of dropped down the leagues and went to, I think it was South or someone like that, and obviously worked his way back up, and he's got a good move down to Hull now, and he's broke into the Scotland setup, and he's playing really well. And the lad at Celtic who's impressed me over the last few years, is Forrest, the winger. He's been unfortunate that he's had quite a few niggling injuries, and he hasn't quite kicked on as much as I thought he would do maybe a year or two ago.
Okay. And so after Birmingham, you moved on to Sheffield United. What are your memories of your time at the club?
Yeah, brilliant. I had a brilliant 4 years at Sheffield. I was signed by an ex-manager of mine, Steve Thompson, and I had for a brief spell at Notts County. Yeah. The first year we were there, we lost to Sunderland in the playoffs, but we had some very, very experienced players there. The week I saw, Paul McGrath was there, Ian Rush was there on loan, and we had Dean Saund and Graham Stewart. The club had really pushed the boat out. That's all we heard a couple of years before money-wise, which in the long run didn't do much good. But unfortunately we missed out in the playoffs, and then the next year we sort of slid down the league, and there was a lot of changes in manager. And then another one of my old managers came in, Neil Warnock. And I think in Neil's first year, from right wing, I scored about 12 or 13 goals and was player of the year. And I had 3 or 4 really, really good, enjoyable years at Sheffield United. We just, at the time, it was sort of a time of transition where they'd had years previous where they spent a lot of money, and we had to cut our cloth accordingly. But some great players came through the ranks there. Obviously, Phil Jagielka, Nick Montgomery, Michael Tong. We had Brown, obviously Marcus Bent went on to play another game, so we had a good team, and I know Davey we were more than a match for anybody.
Okay, and then you moved back to Birmingham. Was Steve Bruce the manager at the time?
Yeah, it was Brucey. I spoke to Brucey beforehand when he was manager at Palace, and I'd been sounded out about a move to Crystal Palace. So I was out the team at Sheffield, and I'd only just signed a 4-year contract, but there was a bit of speculation about me moving to Crystal Palace. So obviously I spoke to Neil felt it was better that I wasn't involved with all of the speculation about my future. Then all of a sudden Brucey got the move to Birmingham, but he was put on gardening leave, so for a period of weeks he didn't do anything, so it all went dead for me. I was in limbo. I knew that Steve wanted to take me back to Birmingham, but he couldn't do anything. Obviously, it was an awkward situation for myself at Sheffield with Neil, because I'd asked for the move as well. So, I mean, to be fair to Neil, Neil was great. He didn't sort of cast me out there or anything like that. He just said, okay, we'll just play it by ear. Then all of a sudden, Neil called me into the office and said, I don't think the Birmingham thing's going to happen. And he put me straight back in the team for a televised game away at Norwich, which I think we won. And then all of a sudden, on the Sunday night after that game, I think Blues had got beat, which forced the issue. I got the phone call to say the move was back on, and I went down and re-signed for Birmingham, which was great because obviously I'd left under a cloud the first time having fell out with Trevor. People didn't know the real reasons behind that. I played with Steve Bruce as a player at Birmingham. He was player manager when I was at Sheffield United. That was his first job. So he was a pal of mine and somebody I really respected. And it was great for him to bring me back to Blues, so I could sort of put the record straight that I didn't want to leave in the first place, and to be involved in probably the best couple of years that the club had had in the previous 40, 50 years, with promotion back up to the Premier League and stopping up comfortably was fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. I've got another listener's question about your time at Watford. He's asked, is it true that Elton John paid for your wage? Well, basically paid for you to come to the club.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it was Ray Lewington. I never actually got to meet Elton John, but that was true. I know he. Watford, the similar sort of scenario to Sheffield United, really. The early era there, would sent the club to the wall financially, brought in a lot of players on massive contracts, obviously, and then when they got relegated out of the Premier League and couldn't get back up, the club was really struggling, and Ray Lewington, who's a great fellow, who's now the coach of England, obviously had no money to bring in any players, and he got back to Elton, and Elton very kindly said that he'd stomp up the transfer fee and the wages for a 3-year contract for a player. And unfortunately enough, Ray decided he wanted to sign me. My only regret about the Watford thing was I was probably a little bit over the hill, if I was being perfectly honest. I was into my 30s. I'd never had a bad injury or an operation in my life. I had my first operation at Watford, so my only regret is that my 3 years at Watford, they never really saw me at my best, I don't think. Although, my first year there, I was runner-up in Player of the Year, and I did have some good games and really enjoyed it down there. I did have the chance to go to them some years before when Glenn Roder was manager, but they didn't quite see the best of me at Watford.
Alright, so since retiring, you've now opened the Paul Devlin football coaching.
I've been involved with the football coaching locally for 14, 15 years with a friend of mine, but I've actually been running them myself since 2009.
So is it just Midlands, or is it nationwide? Or?
Yeah, we're sort of all over the Midlands, and we go up at Chester as well. We've got stuff up in Chester.
Yeah. So
I'm mainly Midlands based, and also Chester. Yeah.
Alright, so before we go, do you want to plug your Twitter and then the website for the coaching?
Yeah, you can. The website's it's www.pauldevlinfootballcoaching.co.uk. All the information and everything that people need on the website for our venues and costs and times and dates and everything. And then the Twitter's at Devo72D, which would be great to get people following.
Yeah, and I'll include all these details in with the article. So. Okay. So, well, thank you for joining us, and you'll come on again. So, okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.